Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey, this is Walter from iWalter, and I'm doing a rather late show. I usually try to do them on Saturday nights, and here I decided to wait until, I finally got around to doing it. Now, before I forget, the name of the show tonight's called Maleficent, because I know I'm going to forget how to say that, because I repeat it, playing it over and over again, so I would remember how to say it correctly. Now, there's a reason why I'm picking that, because I am kind of, familiar with the movie with Angela Jolene. I never seen the film. I had watched either the first film or the second one that she made on Maleficent. But for some reason, I was just in my mind, I think it was about Wednesday or Thursday, I was thinking about my old boss who got me fired from my old job, and her personality kind of reminded me of, I guess, what this character is like. By the way, FYI, Matt, I apologize, because it's probably too late now. I'm going to have to check out. There was this piece of music Matt had sent to me, and I forgot to save it to, but whatever it is, Matt, that you sent to me earlier tonight, or later, or whatever it was, it's definitely going to be at the end of your show. Usually, well, the last time I forgot the name of the song I was going to use, I basically put it on the title at the very, after I left and came back on. So I don't think I'll do that tonight. I'll see. Probably not. Probably not a good idea. So, yeah, I have a couple ideas that were floating around, and I, posted some stuff for me to look at. And then there was other things that I really wanted to use, and it was like, you know what, I can't use everything, so I'm going to have to kind of keep it limited, I guess. And then there was a segment that I ripped off of Facebook, an ex-coworker had sent to me, a person named, our friend from back when I worked my other job, an older guy, Jim Hoffman. And he had sent me something. It was like, yeah, I'm going to use this thing. It's pretty good. But then when I thought about it, it's like, well, it's like 10 minutes long. And I've cut and edited in 10-minute segments. I've cut in and edited 15-minute segments. I've cut in and edited 20-minute segments. But that's just like a little bit too much. I didn't even bother. But on Ken Matthews on Friday, he had on... I can't remember her name now. Dawn Kiefer. I have to associate somebody's name with somebody else, or something I need to remember with something else. It's the only way I remember. But Dawn Kiefer is a representative of some part of Pennsylvania, and she is a conservative. And they were talking about all the nonsense going on with Governor Wolf, Ken Matthews and Dawn Matthews. Dawn Kiefer, I apologize. But that would have been like another 20 minutes there, so it's no longer iWalter, it's just me playing all these large segments. Now, the one that Jim Hoffman had sent to me on a text is about all this nonsense going on in New York, how these hospitals are like physically, in so many words or less, they're killing people. And this one nurse was afraid to come on and expose herself, so she got a friend to do so. And Yeah, so it's like a 10-minute segment of this nurse's friend basically saying stuff that the nurse herself did not want to say without getting in trouble, or arrested or whatever, or worse. So she had her an alias friend actually do this segment, a video segment, and post it up on YouTube, I believe. It's on Facebook, but I mean, it was I think it was initially it was on YouTube. So that was the kind of stuff I was like, hey, I'll throw this in here. And it was like, well, wait a minute, it's just going to be too much. I'm not going to have enough time. And I'm trying to keep also my segments, if I can. I don't think anybody would really mind if I can keep them short. I think people would kind of listen to me a little bit more. Like now, I have a podcast I did because I named it correctly. I named it after a movie called Wrong Turn, and I think I got like 300 or 400 hits on that, and that was like 2 years ago. So yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I had a lot of people tune in. I don't think that was me that many times hitting because I don't get a response when I listen to my own shows. There was a time it did happen. What else? Well, I was doing one called Lennox Talk, and that had gotten quite a few hits for me, not for anybody else, but for me. And I really have no clue what I'm talking about or what I was speaking about when I was talking about an operating system called Linux. I only know as much on how to maneuver an operating system called Linux as much as I know how to run the desktop on Windows or the desktop on a Mac machine, which is basically not really anything at all besides how to point and click. I'm not going to lie about it. But for some reason, people found it interesting, and they had actually listened to that podcast. So, hey, thank you for that. I definitely need listeners. So, the one thing I think I should push to the surface, because I have a lot of other things, other topics. And by the way, it was kind of strange, but I looked at last second before I started my podcast, and apparently, the coronavirus in Pennsylvania just keeps on going up, and it's generally around this area. It's this area that is the worst, meaning, what is it, southeastern Pennsylvania? Not that it actually says it when I'm looking at right now, but it says the coronavirus is confirmed cases now is almost 57,000, 56,611. You might as well say, I'm just rounding it up. And it was up, just from the past day, it was up 1,295 more cases that were confirmed in a day, one day. So that's a little bit kind of crazy. And then it said deaths, I guess from when it started, they don't tell you that. So it sounds much worse. 3,707 cases of people who passed away. And 19 new cases that had passed, died. People had died the last day. So the thing is, you got to remember, because my friend Matt actually mentioned this before, that a lot of these people that are passing away are from these crammed retirement homes. They're the ones that are having it the worst. And that's another thing. This area has been really overpopulated with homes and people living there and on top of each other because they made all these apartment complexes and stuff. And honestly, it's just out of control. And, I hope after the dust settles on this nonsense with this coronavirus, especially in Pennsylvania, that they reconsider before they actually will make more homes on top of the amount of homes we have now, which is an awful lot. For instance, there was a pool my parents and I, friends that I know had gone, went to when we were children, and it was a pool called, a place called Markley Swim Club. Well, the parents who owned it, the people who owned it, they passed away. The kids, there was a son and daughter, Scott and Sue. My brothers went to school with those guys. and they knew them firsthand. And they got tired of it, and one of the siblings decided, because they're up there in age themselves now, decided, like, you know what, we're just going to sell it. And the community, the area, wanted to put a YMCA in there. Well, this area, I don't know what you call it, like the jurisdiction or whatever, they didn't go for that. They said, well, it's not gonna make enough tax revenues. So we want homes on there because we're gonna make more money on taxes if we put a lot of homes. So we got a lot more people in here, and they're packed on top of each other already from all the apartment complexes they just popped up everywhere. But in addition to that, they had taken over like 2 golf courses, one over King of Prussia, which they put more apartments on. They wanted to take over Valley Forge and put more homes and apartments there, and that had gotten shot down because that's a state park, a federal park, I believe. But there was a golf course that was there for years that was named after my nickname, Woody. Got changed into a medical facility, and I heard it's not very good, and some people say it's good. But yeah, it's just like, how many hospitals, how many houses, how many shopping malls and other things, strip malls do you need? When are you going to say, well, this is enough? We've overcrowded an area. Like, when is it going to stop with we need more money? So that's my issue. And I hope that does change, because I think the reason it's really bad, because if you notice, areas where people are more spread out by default, the issues with this coronavirus is a lot less, because people are not crammed on top of each other like they are around here. And I think that is a large, major factor why it's so high in southeast Pennsylvania. Southeast Pennsylvania. Yeah, that's my opinion, but I'm just saying that. I'm not surprised it's that high. See, I already went off, and it's like 12 minutes in. It's not that bad, but I could speak about something for way too long, and to the point that I'm sure people like, this guy makes no sense. He's just babbling on about whatever is on the top of his head. Well, that's exactly what I do. So anyway, what was I going to mention to you tonight? There was this story that was going around, and I can't remember. I should have had that up, because that wasn't like the... But actually, I thought I made that like my first story. It's about a black 24-year-old African-American who got shot and killed by 2 men in Georgia. And Ahmad, I'm going to take a shot at this because I should have listened to his name. It's Ahmad. Well, maybe I can just let it go. Ahmad Arbery, is that right? Is that correct? So a friend today, he got me all worked up. He said, "Oh, there's some more footage that came out, news segment." I asked him, I pleaded, "Can you kind of direct me in where you're finding this information from?" He shows me a picture where the news segment claimed that Ahmad was vandalizing people's homes, stealing things, and it was in Georgia, like I said. And so these 2 guys, a son and a father, saw Ahmad running, and they told him to stop, and they saw him running. He was supposedly jogging, which I'm going to leave it at that, but I will say now I believe it. And they chased him down with guns, and he tried to defend himself, and they shot and killed him. They shot and killed the guy, if I'm saying his name right, Ahmad. So they had somebody, this is what gets me really angry. Somebody was shooting it from their car, video recording it on their phone. And that whole time while they were watching this nonsense going on, Why didn't they just kind of yell out or call the other police? Because apparently the one guy was an off-duty officer or a retired officer, and say, something's a little bit fishy here. Or somehow, if you're that close that you're recording it on your phone, why didn't you stop this whole situation from happening where this guy got shot and killed? Now, because I'm tired of when I see all these videos online of these fights and people getting physically hurt, or that thing called the knockout game, and people just pull out their cell phones and start recording this nonsense, but they don't do anything to stop the situation because they want to get the hits on Facebook and Twitter and whoever knows what else. So to me, that's got to stop. And I think you should hold people accountable. Hey, that's great that you got footage of this. Why didn't you try to stop it? Why do you have to stand there and record this nonsense when you should be stopping it from happening in the first place? So that gets me really angry. So anyway, my one friend, he sent me all this footage, and he said, oh, yeah. In fact, let me pull it up because I think it's just really... At this point, I thought it was entertaining at first until, I did my own research, and now he sent me, let's see, today on segments about Ahmaud. I hope I'm kind of close. I would say at least 20-some memes and articles about him making jokes that he had on his feet a pair of Timberlands, and he had a hammer in his hand. And at first, I really believed him. So what I did was I asked him, can you send me the link to the segment that you are referring to? And he would not answer me. And he kept on doing it over and over again. And it got to the point, it was like, I spend at least a good hour, maybe 2 hours, maybe even longer than that. And then I finally found his news article segment and the video that was attached from the news. It was, let's see, news4jax.com. And it's a Georgia web link for, Channel 4 News. So I found it. It's WJ Jax News in Georgia. I was in Georgia, so I know how it is down there. WJXT. That's the thing. And I looked at the segment. Apparently what he did, and I thought about it, I was like, I think everybody has done that in their lifetime. This, again, I apologize if I'm getting the name wrong this many times. Ahmaud, whatever. There was footage that shows him. He's clearly in a home, construction site house that was not being worked on right now. Like they were done for the day. And, the friend said, oh, he has on his feet Timberlands. And I'm like, looking at the video, I even blew it up. I have a 42-inch monitor to watch it on. And I thought to myself, that's not Timberland sneakers, shoes. Those are sneakers. They might be high-top sneakers, and I don't even think it's that. I'm looking at it right now. So he got that footage completely wrong. They are sneakers. And he said, well, who runs in loose T-shirt and a pair of cargo pants? Well, let me see. Most of the guys I've seen lately, because nobody has worked in such a long time, it's about every guy when I look out the window in the morning, when I get up in the morning to see what kind of the weather is, I always see tons of women, tons of young girls. They always wear the same thing. They wear lycra spandex and leotards, lycra spandex, because they want to show off. And it's of every age, of every woman, and they wear these halter tops, like those spandex halter tops. The guys that I see running, because that's, nobody's working right now, let's face it, especially in this section of Pennsylvania, because how else did they pay out over $5 billion in people's unemployment? And especially, I've heard this on different segments, especially when people are getting an additional $600 a week on top of their unemployment wages. So, and I've heard this. I've seen it on news segments. People are telling the company they work for, if they're told you can come back, they say, you know what, I'm going to take the summer. I've heard this. I'm going to take the summer off and wait until my benefits run out. Because why would I want to give up an additional $600 on top of what I'm getting paid on unemployment? It's a lot more than I'm making when I'm working. But anyway, so that I think that's even with this guy Ahmad, because one of the things a friend brought up, my friend Matt, it sounds like he was jogging like in a different area than he, from pretty far from his house. Well, people are extremely bored right now. Let's face it. People are not working. They're pulling their hair out. I've seen today, every day, in addition to these ladies that jog in front of the house, the guys who jog in front of the house, I see a different group of people. Today I saw a father, a son, a couple sons, and they were all on their bikes. And I've never seen these people before. I mean, I kind of recognize most of the people, but every day it's a new group of people. And my thing, or I'm trying to get at, is people are traveling to different areas because they're just bored. You know what? Hey, let's ride our bike a little further today. Let's go in a different direction. And it's all times of the day, and it's when I'm home. I'm only home until 2 o'clock. And it's every day now, Monday through Friday and Saturday and Sunday. I should say Monday through Sunday. So people are just plain bored. I mean, I said to a friend, I said to both friends, that all three of us, and then other people that are friends that I'm not mentioning, I haven't mentioned anybody yet, who has not gone into a place you're not supposed to be, private property, abandoned buildings or construction sites, and goofed off or whatever, and been chased off by the police officers? I think everybody at one point in time, if not chased by the cops, have definitely done something they weren't supposed to do. So he's not doing anything different. And then I think my friend Matt said Tim Pool even admitted, not that he did it, but he admitted that there are people who do go to these construction sites, and the construction workers just leave all the material all over the place, and it gets stolen. I mean, it's nothing new. So is it right? Absolutely not. But is it worth shooting, killing somebody over? Absolutely not as well. So my whole thing was, at first, I was like, wow, this might be another Trayvon Martin type thing. Is that the way you say? Because I can't even say that guy's name right, Trayvon Martin. And I hate to say it, that guy was hook, line, and sinker. He was guilty as sin. And they try to make him out to be like, oh, he was just an innocent bystander. He got shot for no reason. And I thought, okay, this is another, if I'm saying it right, Trayvon or whatever. I thought it was another of those cases. But then when I watched the video footage, the additional video footage on Ahmad, it was like, no, there's nothing out of line here. I mean, is he breaking the law? Yeah, he kind of is, but not to the extent where these people over, they over expounded on how to deal with the situation. You should not pull out guns. You shouldn't chase people down. I myself have been in a predicament like that. I've told friends that, or I've had encounters with police officers, not that this person was on duty or even an active officer, but I've dealt with people, and I hate to say it, I've dealt with real assholes on the road and other places where they just are very confrontational, and they come after you like for no reason at all. And I think this is what happened to this guy Ahmad. So, and I was down south before. I said to friends, I was down in Atlanta, Georgia. I drove around there. I rented a car. I drove to the outskirts of, and was staying in, where was that again? Covington, and then I drove the other direction. Covington, they shot some show called Vampire Diaries and Heat of the Night, I believe, and there was another show, Dukes of Hazzard. But then the other direction from Atlanta, Georgia, they shot The Walking Dead. And I checked that out. And I noticed that these areas I was going into, there was kind of, for the most, in certain areas, that there was a segregated area where just black people lived, and they lived very poorly. In fact, I felt bad. I saw this family that was living in practically would look like a shed. And I felt like I walked back in time by a century when I saw the way some areas that where black people were treated like they were probably 100 years ago. So I'm not surprised by the situation in Georgia. Let me put it that way. And I'm not like one of these liberal leftists who go out and protest and think that everybody is being victimized. But this is a case that kind of is an open and shut case. The two people who shot that guy is wrong. No ifs, ands, and buts. And that's the end of that. Because otherwise, what a waste. It's already a half an hour into the show. And, like I said, I really wanted to kind of like put some segments in, but then I figured, you know what, maybe not. Hey, here is something interesting. I sent it to my friend Matt. I kind of glanced at it. I'm going to kind of pass it on for the podcast tonight. But, I kind of am very doubtful of this happening, but the schools in Montgomery County may open by the fall. And I think a lot of this is, the reason this may happen is, let's face it, people are fed up with Wolf keeping everything shut down now because it's till June 4th. People are getting pissed off. Their kids aren't in school. People aren't working. They're not making money. They're actually losing money. Now, I did just say a moment ago there's people who don't want to work, but then there's that select few, maybe more, who do want to work, and if everything's closed, it's not helping anybody. So, there was an article, and it says officials very hopeful Montco schools will reopen in the fall, and I really hope so. I really hope so, because if Wolf had his way, he would wait until 2021. Trust me on that. County officials hold discussions every 10 days with Montgomery County's 22 school districts, superintendents, and on plans of moving forward and basically opening up the school districts by the fall. Because these, I hope so. I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah, because here's a story I have from North Penn now. Governor Wolf announces 13 counties will move to the yellow phase of reopening on May 15th. Now, here's the other thing. There was a story. There was a group of stories. I don't know if I put any of them up, where basically, people that are in the red zone, quote unquote, using quotation marks with my fingers, that these people are like saying, you know what, go F yourself. We're not going to wait until my thing's kind of acted up. I can hear it in the sound. We are not going to wait. I better make sure I can see my audio levels. Maybe that's what the problem is. We are not going to wait until June 4th to open up. If we're in the red zone in Pennsylvania and you're telling us we can't open up our businesses or whatever, guess what? We're going to open them anyway. And I applaud those people. I really, really do. Thank you for doing that. So just wanted to let you know. Yeah, because it's the whole thing. I heard it even on Ken Matthews. I told my friend Matt I would have ripped an audio segment, but if I do too much of that, the show's no longer mine, it's somebody else's. And even when he was discussing this with Ken Matthews with Dawn Kiefer, she agreed. And said the same thing, or, reciprocated the same thing, that this whole, and Rush Limbaugh, this whole thing is political. Fox, Governor Wolf, well, same thing, more like a skunk. Him and other Democrats that are elected officials for that state, if they're a Democrat, they're trying to keep everything closed as long as possible and makes people suffer as long as possible. And I even heard this on Rush Limbaugh, because what I said before was exactly what Rush said, because that way people are going to get to the point that they're going to, they're thinking, this is the way the Democrats think. They think this will change people's minds on voting whoever is on the Democratic ticket this November. And I really hope people aren't that stupid. I give them more credit, but, we will see in the next couple months, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, there's another story I posted on Governor Wolf saying 13 more PA counties to be open. So, yeah, but some people, even if they're not in that jurisdiction again, they're going to open up anyway. They don't care. They're fed up. It was funny. One of the biggest places, one of the biggest malls in the world, according to this, it's a company called Simon's. They actually own many malls around the country. But their biggest mall that they own is King of Prussia Mall. And there was a story I found on that was King of Prussia Mall planning for a radically different reopening. So that was actually, if you're interested, you can find that on the patch. I think it was like the Norristown patch. I mean, basically what it was saying, it's going to, I think a lot of these stores aren't going to reopen again, too, because I know there was a couple chain stores that they can't afford to reopen the whole company, not just because of the King of Prussia Mall, but as a whole, these certain stores, I can't even think of which ones, like Neiman Marcus, whatever, they had to file for bankruptcy because having them to be forced to shut down, they can't afford to reopen. So yeah, that's one of the things that could be an issue, especially for a mall as big as King of Prussia, because they have certain big size stores. Macy's, I think, was another one that kind of went belly up even before this happened with the coronavirus. But I think one of the things is that they have to shut down the mall in these stores every night to sanitize all the stores and everything like that. It's things like that is going to affect the way the mall, probably even these face masks, or be something for quite a while. Like, I think I read that the employees are going to have to wear face masks for quite a long time if the mall actually starts to slowly open up again, meeting the King of Prussia. So it was things like that. It's interesting because I've seen this place. If you're familiar, like, I think it's like Lansdale, actually, by the look of it. Matt would know where this is. I think it's like right next to American Star Diner up in Lansdale. It's that American Star. There's that place called Retro Fitness. I think it's like right on the corner. Well, that's going to be shut down for good now, because mainly because of the coronavirus. They lost a lot of business, and they can't afford to reopen their doors. So, yeah. Let's see where it says. It says 1200 Welsh Road in Montgomery Township. But I believe, by the looks, because there's a picture of it, it's actually the one not too far down the road from, like, the main street of Lansdale, I believe, around that American Diner. So, yeah. But you're hearing more and more about that stuff. Oh, here was something that was funny. It was from News Republic. The title was like, Democrat Party's donkey symbol replaced by a rat in Google search. I think that was hilarious. It says, as we approach the 2020 U.S. presidential election, more and more Americans are turning to Google with important questions about politicians and policies. So, yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, they have a picture of it, too. They changed the Democratic Party of the donkey, with the American flag kind of look. They have one for the elephant for the Republicans. Well, the one for I'm looking at the picture now and I just can't help but laugh, is, that thing with the stars and the red, white, and blue, but with a rat. I think that is really funny. This does not fit in here, but I promised Ed Rick I would fit this in here. He sent me a story from KQED. I guess it's something on the iPhone with like things, and it was a story. I'm not going to read it, but it just says porn industry has a lot of safety tips for the COVID-19 era. COVID-19, because I know that pisses off Todd. I always say it wrong. I say COVID. It's COVID. So, yeah, there's a very lengthy story on that, on the porn industry. And I have no interest in reading it. I'm just going to at least acknowledge it. This was actually, I think, sent to me, but I also saw this story on the patch. I don't know if you guys heard about it. Oh, excuse me. An angry shopper coughed on cashier, said he had COVID in Bucks County. He deliberately coughed, I guess, on an employee. I had the same thing happen to me when Walmart around the house was still open. I had somebody walk by me deliberately and start coughing and not covering his mouth, and it was really obvious. And it was right before that, before they decided, like, okay, we're only letting a handful of people into Walmart and Trooper in the store at a time. But this guy had to go out his way and be as big of a douchebag as he could be. And I was really pissed. Like, I got home. It's like, I better not get that coronavirus from this asshole. Thank God I didn't, because I'm always concerned about the parents, because I live with my parents. Yeah, there's another story about, I'm trying to keep on these racial stories because, I don't really want to do that. Hey, by the way, on a lighter note, Hollywood Reporter, I don't know if you guys, I know I did. I watched the first season because I subscribed to Disney Plus. It actually includes, which I don't even watch. You can just apply to Disney. It's like $6, $6 a month, and they got a lot of good shows and movies. I mean, I know that it's kid shows, right? No, there's more than that. There's a lot of, there's Marvel movies and also a lot of, they own Star Wars franchise now. They bought Lucas out, the Disney network. So there's that show called The Mandalorian. A lot of people like that. So, yeah, if you get the basic package of Disney, not the plus, you're paying like $6, $7 a month. It's not that much. Well, anyway, they're going to bring back the actor who played the original Boba Fett, apparently, for the next season. The Mandalorian, Morrison is his last name. I'm having a difficult time pronouncing his first name. Returns to Star Wars universe to play Boba Fett exclusive. And it's the actual actor. He's very aged. He's up there in age, but he's in really good shape, apparently. Is going to come back to play Boba Fett. The actor played the famed bounty hunter's father in 2002 Star Wars Attack of the Clones. But I think he was also, I do believe, because I haven't read the whole article, is also the actor who did play Boba Fett in the original series as well. So that's kind of like really, really cool. Oh, you know what? There was a really bad accident the other day, and I said I bet it's some people having way too much time on their hands. But there was a really bad tractor. I was ready to say what my dad says. He calls tractor trailers tractor-in trailers. It's kind of annoying. It went up in a blaze. It was right around Fairmont Park. The truck got derailed off the road, not derailed off a railroad line, but it got it went out of control, flipped over a bridge, and caught fire. The guy died who was driving the truck, and everything was lost. And I said, I bet you any money it was some a-hole who cut the guy off. And you know what? It was. Because there was a follow-up story, and it says, teen driving recklessly in reverse caused deadly fiery crash on Schuylkill Expressway. Teenager was driving recklessly before a fiery crash that killed the tractor-trailer driver of the Schuylkill Expressway earlier on Wednesday. It happened around 2:40 a.m. on eastbound lane on the expressway near Girard Avenue exit the Fairmont Park. And that was a shame because they have pictures and everything. I didn't realize it happened that early in the morning. But, you know, this is the one thing I do have an issue with. You know, they don't enforce the laws of people, you know, like especially younger teenagers who, now that they're not going to school pretty much at all, they should be, you know, the law should be upheld for them that if you're out on the road, you will get a citation or sent to some like type of juvenile hall for not following the rules and regulations because you are out, especially at that time that I mentioned, after curfew. Because if it's a teenager, why is he out at 2:40 a.m.? And he killed somebody. So he should be up. He should be held accountable for that. And depending on the teenager's age, they should be tried as an adult for reckless endangerment and what do you call that? Oh, it says Adul Johnson will be charged with homicide by motor vehicle driving under the influence and other offenses. So let me take that back. So thank you. I guess they are doing it. The guy's his name was Adul Johnson, and two juvenile females inside a Toyota were located at the hospital. Police say the vehicle was stolen. Oh, he was driving a stolen vehicle. That makes everything like okay. Well, I like to see that go through and be upheld because a lot of times they say one thing and they end up getting a slap on the wrist. So, you know, I hope that does go through because you killed somebody from reckless driving. So congratulations for being a moron. Hero of the stupid. There was one story I'm keeping near the end, so. Oh, you know what? This is one thing, too, and I think I'm making Ed Rick really happy, Matt, and I think this is going to happen, is you're going to see more, what do you call that, drive-in theaters start to come about. I think you're going to see more of that. And it's really not that hard because you can actually set up a drive-in theater fairly easily. You could either have a paved, what do you call it? A paved parking lot with a big screen. You only need one big screen. Or you could basically do it on the field. There is a place when I was curious, is there any outdoor theaters around here to go to? And there's a place you can actually, in Horsham, you can rent out the equipment and do it anywhere, even in a conventional parking lot. You can just put a, trailer hitch screen, and they do all the work for you, whatever you want to show. You can do it virtually anywhere. So that is going to be the next big thing, I think, are these drive-in movie theaters, especially with this coronavirus going on, or COVID-19. I think that's going to be on the resurge, just like vinyl became resurged. Or resurfaced after many years, like it died out, and now it kind of made a little bit of a comeback. I think it's going to be the same thing with the outdoor theaters. And, me saying that, by the way, and I'm getting close to that, this is like directed towards Matt. I forgot to tell you on a commercial, on a voice text, I did look for Splatterfest. I think it would be Splatterfest 9, and there is no saying that. Apparently, the last one was last year's, which I believe then would obviously be Splatterfest 8. So that's kind of a disappointment. For those who don't know, Splatterfest takes place at the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville. It's really cool. Me and Matt and I have done that for many years. There was like one or two I just had attended it, or whatever you want to say. I went myself. But most of the time, Matt and I have done that because Matt was the one who introduced Splatterfest. And Splatterfest originally, and I think it's still kind of like that, are films made by Italian directors or Italian-made directed horror films, splatter films. Generally, they're really bad, but for the most part, they're definitely entertaining in some sense of the word. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that. And by the way, at the drive-in theaters, there's different types, because I think there are some you just tune on your radio, and there's other ones you just link on the little box to the side of your car. But I think there's some, because we're looking at this drive-in theater article, and they had a video attached, and they have the old conventional, you hook it onto the side of your car, the speaker. But I thought there was some that you just turn into a certain station, and you pick up the movie in your car, which would be excellent because you're not being in human contact with a lot of people besides whoever's in the car. And most people have really good stereo systems in their car nowadays. I mean, it's very rare to find one who does not have a good stereo system in their car. Anyway, it's almost like 10 up. That's why I didn't want to add that other thing. Real quick. Yeah, that was pretty weird. I don't know if you saw that story on the news, but in Philadelphia, there was a house that collapsed. It said Philadelphia Point Breeze neighborhood. The home literally collapsed. So, yeah, that was pretty weird. I'm not going to go into that because I'm actually running out of time. Yeah, I got. Oh, you know what's kind of weird? People think I'm like some type of child molester myself because I linked. I did it. I honestly did it out of pure fascination. Some girl named JoJo. She was on that Dance Moms. You know, those mothers who torture their kids to make their kids successful, like these little girls and stuff. So the one actually is really successful because she did those music videos for Shay. Is it Shay or whatever? I can't remember how to say her name. That one girl, she was from Dance Moms. I'm trying to look it up. I can't remember how to say it. I'm not saying it right. The one female vocalist who never shows her face. Well, she had, like, in the music videos, it is, it's S-I-A. Is that Shay? Is that how you say it? I don't even remember. So, because she's like, she thinks she's ugly, I guess. And she's probably not that bad looking, but she thinks she's ugly. So, she got the one girl who was from Dance Moms, and that girl is now, like, 17. And really successful. So there was another girl on this Dance Moms, a young kid, who's named JoJo. And it was like, I saw this, and I was just curious, okay, how much is this kid worth? She's only like 16, 17 years old. No, I think she's only like 16 years old. This girl named JoJo. So the interesting thing, she's taller than me. She's like 5'7", 5'9" already, and she's only like 15, 16. But she's worth like $12 million at this point. They said from this year, and I mean, she was born in 2003. But yeah, she's worth $12 million. I mean, that is amazing. A kid, and it's funny because she basically dictates to her mom on what goes on, she owns a house, a mansion, and a rather expensive car. But I mean, she's worth $12 million. And the house she lives in is this big California, I assume, mansion that looks like a dollhouse. The whole inside is like, so I was curious and I was like, okay, what does this kid sound like? So I looked it up and I saw some video of her. No, she's only 15 and she's only 15 and she's worth $12 million. That's really scary. Yeah, I saw some video and she seems like somebody who needs a really strong dose of Ritalin because the poor girl is like bouncing off the walls and very irritating. She reminds me of the one girl who was very spoiled in Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, the girl who just wanted everything because she was a spoiled brat. Well, that's how irritating this JoJo is. It's very entertaining, but it's also very scary because it's a 15-year-old girl who basically has more money than she'll ever need for the rest of her life. And she's 12 years old. And trust me, I spend a lot of money. Well, she has the money to spend. And she's still got money rolling in because she's got a line of clothing, toys, which she owns everything. And get this, everything in the house, she's got her face plastered on there. Like on the hopper seat in the bathroom, she had a special seat made with her face on there. I mean, who wants to see your own face? I mean, that's a little bit over the top on being conceited as well. And when you hear her talk, like I said, it was like she was pumped up on a crap load of caffeine, and that's like the way she is all the time. So, again, the whole thing is just extremely entertaining. You know what? I got like 9 minutes left, and I want to make enough time to fit Matt's song in there. Hey, by the way, it was funny. Go to YouTube and look for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang replica superfan creates road legal version of the famous car. I remember that was like one of the first Disney films when I was a little kid that I remember watching was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So this guy grew up loving that movie, and he made his own one-to-one replica car of the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car. So to me, that was really awesome to see that because I grew up with that movie, or that was the first movie I remember growing up with. So my last story I'm going to leave off tonight, I'm going to, I had some other stories, but I'm not going to read them. There's only like 2 other ones anyway. So they're gone. Because this is one I definitely want to fit into. One of my favorite things is Doctor Who. And I always get, not reamed, but talked about, like, do you really think that Jodie Whittaker is, like, the best Doctor Who? And it's like, well, I really like her out of the new series of Doctor Who's. And in some ways, I like her because it's up to date, even just as much as the other Doctor Who's, meaning the original ones. Give or take on what I'm talking, which episode I'm looking at. So somebody, or actually 2 people, 2 different sources, I couldn't find either one, or at least I found one, wrote an article, said the 13th Doctor is the new 6th Doctor. Here's why. Basically saying Jodie Whittaker, the first female Doctor, shares important similarities with the man who got Doctor Who canceled in the 1980s, meaning Colin Baker. So they're saying with the multicolored costume, because she's got a little bit of that in there. What do you call it? The non-sexual, as they put it. In the one article I read, the non-sexual costume with, almost looks like a gay flag. That was number 1. And just the poor script writing. And then they were even saying, they're making her the new Colin Baker. And I thought it was kind of funny. And the funny thing was, Colin Baker was the first Doctor Who that when I was watching the show from the late 70s, Colin Baker was actually the first one that I knew about him before he actually even played his first part as Doctor Who. So, I mean, Peter Davison, I watched those, and some of those were brand new. But by the time I actually got through all the Peter Davisons, he was actually already, obviously he had left the role as Doctor Who. And Tom Baker was off completely, so I was always watching the reruns from like mid-70s to Tom Baker came on actually in 75, so it was like probably late 70s, 78 or something. So anyway, I'm like reading this, and I think it's very entertaining with Jodie Whittaker because I can't deny the facts that the fact that what they are specifying of why Jodie Whittaker is the new Colin Baker, without a doubt, is very valid reasons. And one of the biggest things were these major changes back in the day, because I could not stand the man. I saw him in person, John Nathan Turner, JNT. The guy, I met him in person over King of Prussia. I was like a teenager at the time. I asked him some stupid question, and he got rather kind of curt with me, and I never forgot that. He got very bitter with me because I did not know what I was talking about. Now, Matt, you're laughing because you know what your answer is going to be. Well, Walter, you never know what you're talking about. So that kind of really rubbed me the wrong way. I thought to myself, this guy is a complete asshole. And they're saying about the same thing about the new producer, that he has, he's just trying to take everything and change everything drastically. So I have to laugh because if you remember, maybe Matt, you don't remember, but I doubt it because I think you stopped watching at that point. But when Colin Baker was actually fired, they gave him a second chance, and they made what's called trial of a Time Lord, and they made some major changes. And one was that the Doctor was some sinister, on his last regeneration, was going to become a sinister, evil Time Lord known as the Valeyard. And it was so freaking bad. It was so god-awful. It was like I stopped watching Trial of the Time Lord after, I think, partially through. And it wasn't even that long because that's when they changed from the 30-minute. We in the U.S. used to watch the whole entire episode, which was 4 parts. But when Trial of the Time Lord came through, and even Colin Baker, when he first was aired in the U.S., they did go back to the part system because the parts were only 40. Well, they were, instead of 22 minutes, were 45. So it was really easy just to say, you know what, we're just going to make them parts then, because they were almost an hour, and on PBS it was fine. So, but yeah, I mean, to me, it's funny, and in some ways, and in other ways, I kind of, if I had to choose between the episodes I will watch again of Colin Baker's and the episodes I will watch with Jodie Whittaker, I could see a lot more of Jodie Whittaker's episodes that I wouldn't mind sitting down and watching again. The only one I really kind of liked with Colin Baker was probably like the first one, which was actually placed in as a replacement for Peter Davison's last episode, which was the Twin Dilemma. The Twin Dilemma was the one where Colin Baker steps in the role as Doctor Who. Well, initially, the Twin Dilemma was supposed to be a Peter Davison episode, but they decided to change the format, not wait and have the very last episode for that season end on where you have to wait a whole year until the Doctor comes back, and they just kind of plugged Colin Baker in one episode. Well, it was one episode less for Peter Davison, one episode would have been one episode more for Colin Baker, but he got canned after one season. So anyway, probably not doing a very good job. It is an hour right now. I want to play Matt's song. So folks, I hope you enjoyed my show. I try to keep it as close as possible to making it a little bit entertaining. So I hope I did that for someone out there besides Matt and myself. Because I'll tell you, Matt, it's not entertaining to me. I'll tell you that much right now. Anyway, I'll have a good night, and I will see you next week, folks, hopefully.